Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. I've got the Hierophant, or the Pope as he was called in the Marseille deck, and the Nine of Wands. There we go. As this is the obstacle. Pope, Hierophant is the opportunity. So this is nines are kind of intense. I mean, all these cards can be intense depending on how deeply you read into them and how profoundly accurate they are in your current scenario. The nine though is like it's the end of the journey, so it could be kind of it could be a thing that's difficult to confront. The Knight of Wands was out there. He was exploring the creative, the sexual, the world of action. Was putting himself really out there, and then yeah, and the nine is sort of the the last step of the journey that involves decision, involves reflection. All of the nines have this in common. It's the last crisis. It's the and crisis, you know, in a negative or positive way. It's the last transformation. That's what kind of makes it the scary one because it's the last one before that last finality. That you know the 10 after this. We had the 10 in yesterday's video, I believe. The 10 is a state often of such complete order that the individual in question is no longer an actor. It's the person is completely consumed in the theme of that suit. You know, the individual kind of dissolves. It's complete order, and complete order is, you know, it's very constrictive. I'd say it controls you, but at that point there's almost no you left to be controlled. You become the job, you become the action, you become the idea, you become the emotion. You know, speaking generally of all the suits, and so yeah, this card in the Marseille deck, it doesn't have any of the doesn't feature any of the flourishes anymore that were present in some of the other cards. There were flowers. This is the just the thing, just the action, and I kind of see this as some of the some of the serious considerations that people often are faced with. Um, Often considerations that I don't know freak them out, um, make it difficult for them to move on in, let's say, in the sexual realm. The wands are largely sexual. This could be like this could be something that maybe people who were like maybe people who were players, who were pretty promiscuous, who were out there, they were seeing lots of different partners, they were having lots of different sexual adventures. This card could symbolize the kind of reality of the consideration that now that maybe, let's say, you're getting married or you're getting into a committed monogamous relationship. This is like the realization that this whole type of activity and passion and whatever that you had is like essentially this is coming to an end. You're gonna you know, you're gonna have to just pick the one path. In terms of creativity, it could be it could be um, the kind of success that accumulates with you getting some sort of position, either professionally or like either, let's say, working for yourself or working for someone else. But you've been creative, you've been successful as a creative force, but now you're going to be, you know, working for someone, or now you're getting paid so much that you're essentially subjugated by the money or by the customer. Like, let's say you're a painter, you know, this could be the transition between being able to be really creative and do whatever you want to getting to the point where now the thing you're staring in the face is the very real possibility that the next step is going to be that thing that locks you in, maybe for the rest of your life, right? And so it still requires a choice. It requires willfully going forward or staying in this state of crisis. The crisis causes pain. Moving forward is scary because you're looking at losing the creativity, losing the freedom, losing the variety. Now, if you look at something like the Ten of Wands as the final end, which for some people it could be, then yeah, that could be a pretty scary thing. If you see the 10 as in itself a card like yesterday, the thing the 10 transitions to is the birth of an entirely new suit. You can only commit to and be consumed by actions so much before they start impressing upon you certain, conceptual ideas, questions, philosophical questions, things like that. Wands transitions, they transition into swords. So some of the fear here can be alleviated by reminding oneself that there's always more directions to go in. There's always another revolution. There's always another transformation. But often the nines is particularly scary. And so I think in terms of the obstacle or the kind of warning, I think the warning here isn't necessarily the 10. The warning or the obstacle is getting stuck because of this kind of fear, this being overpowered by this crisis and not being able to move forward, right? And then looking at our opportunity, which could be potentially seen as a way to get around this sort of crisis. The Hierophant, or the Pope, as he was called, or le pape, I don't know how to pronounce it, le pape le pieux. But yeah, Waite changed it to the Hierophant. You'd figure he would have just called it the Pope, but Waite had connections. I mean, he was quite a big part of the Golden Dawn, and there's a lot of changes that have been made to the deck to sort of align it with the beliefs of the Golden Dawn. Anyway, the Hierophant he's kind of a reflection of the devil, in the sense that this is that the middle transformation. This is another card of crisis or transformation, but signifying more the sort of halfway point between a person's development or the development of the particular journey they're on. And this is the transition between the tangible earthly concerns and the kind of more nuanced, maybe you want to call it spiritual, maybe you want to call it just abstract, so it's the transition. Both this figure and the devil they're kind of like the ushers that escort someone from one state of existence into another. And for the Hierophant or the Pope, it's a transition from the worldly to the higher, and for the devil, it's from the worldly to the lower. And it's not necessarily the case that the Hierophant is the good guy and the devil's the bad guy. Looking at this from a sort of psychological angle, the superego, which might be you could consider the Pope or the Hierophant, that's the place where he's kind of leading you to, potentially. The superego has certain strengths, it has certain weaknesses. With the case of the devil, going down into the unconscious, into the id, there's also advantages and disadvantages, right? Now with the id, you're looking at more chaos, more impulsiveness, but also incredible creativity, incredible animal-like freedom and instincts, right? With this card going more into the super conscious, there's much more responsibility, there's much more order, there's much more structure, but in that sense, there's all the benefits that come with that. It could be a structure that's constrictive, but it could also be a structure that's highly beneficial for the individual. It's really easy to get lost in the in the sort of subconscious realm that the devil can lead you to. And you could go like, I guess the, you know, the danger of the devil is madness. The danger of the Hierophant is like something like autism, you know, a, being super focused on the particular. And I think in this case, um, I think that Hierophant represents that to me in terms of gaining a particular understanding of language of the abstract, and then being particularly susceptible to being governed by that language. That's my particular take. It's not in any way a classic interpretation, but for a while now, I've been noticing, you know, as I get older, I've been noticing that some people get into religion, some people don't. And some people that get into religion, they get into religion really heavily. Some people just kind of brush up against it. And one of the things that I feel like I've been noticing, I haven't done any, you know, in-depth scientific research, so it's not exactly like I'm dealing with a huge sample set, but it seems to me like the people that really resonate with spiritual religious ideas have a far superior vocabulary than the people who don't really take on religion. And I've begun considering the possibility that spirituality on some level is a byproduct of either a more complex vocabulary or a more poetic mind, or but in a lot of ways there's just a lot of value, like hearing someone who is spiritual talk about certain things, use certain words. They use words that seem to have this profound meaning. It's the words that seem to have the meaning. That's kind of what I get out of it, you know. Sacrament, right? Like piety. I don't know. These words have these deep, profound meanings to people with a deep set of definitions. So I think the Hierophant, I think the opportunity here, um, you know, I don't like to make the tarot about some sort of mystical, unknowable force. I don't consider it to be a magical divinatory tool. I consider it to be a valuable psychological tool, you know, um, a narrative tool for life. And in that sense, I think the Hierophant as an opportunity could be seen as an opportunity arising from either an individual that can introduce us, like an individual that could guide us to a world of poetry or literature or higher ideas, you know, or an author themselves. So the Hierophant here could represent some great author that you could discover, and and reading that author, you know, that the literature, the books by that author are going to be this, they're going to give you this sort of experience of, you know, ascension and a new awakening, this transforming, you know, for a lot of people this could represent maybe the first the first poet they get into. A lot of people, you know, it takes them a while to really get poetry. A lot of people never really get poetry. They never come across an author that really inspires their appreciation of poetry, right? But this could be the first poet that someone encounters. This could be the first great philosopher. You know, this could be something like, for someone, it could be like reading Plato's accounts of Socrates for the first time, or it could be reading like, um, I don't know, a Machiavelli. For some people, you know, people come across like Ayn Rand or something, and it like blows their mind. It opens them up to this whole new way of thinking, you know. For me right now, this is maybe like Nietzsche or Heidegger, but yeah, I think it's like it's whoever is opening you up to this new world, and sort of in, imbibing you with the, is that the word I'm looking for? Imbibing you with the inspiration to, you know, it's not just, hey, have you read about this thing and you're kind of indifferent. It's the person that's going to inspire you to see this new world, this higher world, this abstract world. You know, like I said, it transforms you from the physical, tangible reality, the like the knock on wood, real world kind of stuff, um, and in the inverse sense, again, just use the devil as the sort of opposite to illustrate it. The devil would be a guide down into the non-verbal, the non-linguistic. So maybe if it's something like a Zen-like experience, where words aren't a part of the experience of reality. There's no linguistic narrative involved. So it could be musical, in a lot of analyses, but particularly I think in the Freudian, um, I think there was something said about the id where it's like the id has no voice. The id is mute. And one of the interesting things throughout history, in a lot of the great, um, in a lot of the great sort of movies, TV shows, books, comic books that feature a triad of characters based on the the id, the ego, and the superego. It's very often that the id character doesn't talk. He's the mute, comedic, animalistic, um, sort of individual, that reacts very physically to things but doesn't talk. It's a very, the it is a very childlike sort of being. But yeah, so this would be the opposite. This would be the highly structured, highly ordered, very high appreciation for the meaning of words, and like a very strong attachment to like definitions, what things mean, something like that. But yeah, so I think the opportunity here is potentially to discover that that author, that maybe that filmmaker, someone that's going to open you up to this new level of appreciation. And then um, it leads to the lovers. It leads to a situation where those ideas those ideas could, transform or lead you to a deep emotional experience of beauty and wonder, of really sort of big, in my opinion, big basic ideas, virtues, like love being this often the kind of penultimate virtue that we interact with in the world, or that's often the most common um, virtue that we're familiar with. Feeling love, feeling loved, and feeling loving towards someone else. These are like in a pure sense. I think this is often the most accessible, virtuous experience for a lot of people. But yeah, so we got this crisis of decisions, of having to essentially pick one thing, that the one thing you choose, that's gonna potentially become this consuming singular activity, and that choice can be very threatening and daunting, because there's at least some understanding of, that once you commit to that thing, you're going to be losing a lot of freedom. You're going to be losing the ability to choose. And so much, I think, of how we like to think of ourselves is as free beings that get to decide. This could even be something like, maybe you just haven't worked a regular job for a long time. Maybe you've been an independent contractor or something, and now you're looking at joining, like, it's going to be a 9 to 5 job, 5 days a week. You can't just work whenever you feel like it. Like, it's scary to give up that. It's scary to give up that freedom. And in the 10, that task, whatever it is, will be all consuming for at least some period of time. But in itself, that is just another step along this journey of transformation. It's that kind of experience of the consuming task that eventually allows you to have genuinely original and creative ideas. But yeah, so the fear of that, and then the opportunity, maybe look to some great writers, um, and expose yourself to something new that could be inspiring. In a way, it might be valuable to consider that whoever this guide to this higher, dimension of abstract thought will be, there's a good chance that that person worked tirelessly for a long time to get to the place they are, the position that they occupy, the role they are able to play as someone who transforms the experiences of others, inspires them with great works of art, great works of literature. Um, for them, they might have been that 10 of Wands for quite a long time, just, tirelessly working away at their literature or whatever it is. But yeah, hope that was interesting for you. Drop me a like if you enjoyed it. As always, any comments on the video get entered into a draw for a free one-on-one tarot reading. At this point, it's looking like the first comment is going to win it, so take advantage of that while you still can. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.